Just because I love you, it don't mean I trust you. Everybody not to be trusted. Everybody around me thugging. Everybody around me drugging. Everybody around me hustling. Everybody know not to bring no new riggin' around me. They say I be bugging. Got racks in the go yard luggage. Just cause I love you, it don't mean I trust you. Everybody not to be trusted.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is your host, Quentin Flores, and this is Uncut with Q. Guys, we have so many segments to this show, and I love it so much because we've been doing these things back to back lately, and I always lose count of how many of these are done and how many have been posted because we do them so much. So I don't even know what episode that we're on. But what I do know is that you're going to get a lot of value from today's show. Guys, today's show is going to be Mindset with my friend Mitzi. Tell them what's up.
What's up?
Guys, I'm not even going to lie. Like, every time Mitzi comes into the office and, like, steps into the studio, like, it's always, like, just crazy conversations, you know? And so what we're going to talk about today is something that not a lot of people want to talk about. But first and foremost, I have a favor to ask of you guys before we get into this, okay? So if you get value from the show and you get perspective, it keeps you awake at night, and you're like, holy crap, we got to do something different about our lives or our current situations and circumstances or whatever, and you just genuinely become a better person from listening to this show, then all I ask is that you share the crap out of this show. We don't run ads. I don't spend money on Google ad spend, all of the YouTube videos and whatnot. Everything has no ads. And so I just want I want the system to be honored. You listen to this, you get value from it, and share it. Tell your friends about it. That's the best way that we're going to get the show out there, okay? And so, guys, we're going to jump straight into this, man. And the topic that we're going to talk about today, and this is a really good one, and it's kind of in line with depression. I think that entrepreneurs suffer from massive depression. And the reason why is because most people in entrepreneurs are like, that decide to become entrepreneurs are like the phoenixes of life. A phoenix is a god born of the ashes. It's a bird, right? And so a lot of people, when they jump into building out a business, most of the time it's because it's based on some type of survival instinct. They're like, you know what? We're going to start something different. We're going to build out something different, X, Y, Z. And so we are receptive to these emotions of people not believing in us. We're looking for support for our endeavors. We're looking for support on our entrepreneurial journey. And it's like always back to back. And it's like a war in our minds, right? And so, guys, I posted this thing earlier today. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share it with you guys because I am interested in hearing my friend Mitzi's opinion on this because I stand by this. So I said this earlier that mental fragility, people that are mentally fragile, is being promoted at every opportunity, and people wonder why depression increases. Because it's taboo to tell people to think stronger, to be stronger, or to work hard to become stronger. We're told to cave instantly to all of our emotions all of the time, rather than channeling them into productive actions that pull us toward our goals. And in my opinion, it's dangerous. And so I'm just kind of wanting to know what your opinion is on this. Mitzi.
Well, Q, I agree with you somewhat, but I think it comes down to people need to take accountability for their life. And if you get depressed, you need to figure out what you're doing or not doing that's got you into that cycle and get yourself out of it. Depression can cause some issues, and it's easy to stay in that cycle. Like, you've been depressed.
Yeah, you have too, right?
Yeah, I've been depressed. So we know what it feels like to be there. It sucks.
It's a dark place.
Oh my God. Yeah, it really sucks. Like you said, I'll let you say it. What were you thinking whenever you were depressed?
I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah.
It was bad. And you know what? It was the weakest point in my life because at the time I drove everybody away. And I don't know what happened. There's no justification to anything that I did when I was 26 to 27 years old, but I was a very bad person to be around. I was not mentally okay. I was making a lot of money, but it only amplified the worst parts of me. I had like a midlife crisis at a very young age. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was like, I just wanted to destroy everything that I built, and I wanted to push everyone I loved away from me because I was afraid for them. And so, for me, a heavy heart is what I had. And I was just like in disbelief that any of this was real because all my life I've always been in survival mode. always been in survival mode. Not once was anything ever handed to me. Anything that I ever wanted, I had to work extremely hard for. I slept on couches, slept inside of laundromats. I've slept inside of lobbies, and I've taken baths inside of fast food restaurants because I had nowhere to go. And so when I was going through all of those things, and then I finally get to a point where I'm making money, it was like it was too good to be true. And so I self-imploded because I thought that any good thing that ever happened to me was always followed by something extremely bad. I made a lot of money selling weed, and then I got caught and I ended up in prison. I made a good life when I was younger, just gangbanging and being in the streets and fighting all of the time. And then one day I got my ass beat and it was bad, So it was like any good thing that I ever felt like I established for myself, whether it was like presence, power, finances, whatever, was always followed by something terrible. So I thought that was going to happen to me when I finally made something happen for me in real estate. Because I never made $10,000 at once before. Never. Not even in my drug dealer days. I would move weight for other people. That's how I made money. And it was a good living, and I had a lot of it, but I never made legal money before. Yeah. And so it shocked me. It shocked me real bad. And, you met me around that time, and I was completely different. I feel that I am a different person in front of you right now.
You have grown a lot. I feel like you have in what I've seen. It. Yeah.
I've been working on it. It's still every day I'm working on it, Yeah. And I think the gym has helped me out a lot, and the weight loss has helped me out a lot, and just meeting people, and then like my mentor, and then doing these retreats, and then taking ayahuasca. I'm not saying that you guys should do it, or doing my shroom cleanses. Yeah, I've done it. For me, it was like when I started like going on a spiritual journey and started looking inward. That's really what helped me out with this breakthrough that I've had these last couple of years. But going back to what you asked me about, what I felt like when I was in depression, I didn't want to hurt anybody else but me. I didn't want to cause damage to anyone else but me. And so everything that I could possibly do to drive myself to imploding, I did. So, cheated. It's a bad thing. Then I cave into alcohol. Was drinking myself to sleep every night, and then just eating whatever I wanted and being with whoever I wanted and spending money on stupid things like strip clubs and just toxic places that pull you in, And so I was just being stupid, man, and I just wanted to die, and I wasn't sure if I could do it myself, so I would put myself in predicaments where it would just happen, But yeah, it's a very dark time,
and I understand. And I think that depression, when it really comes down to it, I feel like it's out of alignment with your soul. I think that your soul is constantly trying to talk to you, trying to tell you things and give you guidance. And when you're doing all of this, you're trying to ignore something. And I love how you were saying how this happened, because it shows how you had this program going of, if I get success, it's going to go away. And you were living that program over and over. And it also led, because it was a limiting program, a limiting belief, and causing problems in your life. It almost sounds like you tried to take control in the end by being the one in charge of the implosion, be in charge of the downfall, instead of just allowing it to happen to you.
Yeah.
So you're trying to take your power back, but it was guided in the wrong way, because we were just talking about earlier before the podcast, was energy and motion is emotion. So you had this energy and motion of, this downfall. So you put the control and your emotion that way, and that's what you got more of.
Yeah. I mean, it was a huge cycle, definitely. But when I got out of it and I came to something bad, something beautiful happened to me. Yeah. Something that never happened to me before, And I went to church for the first time. And I had never been to church before. And even today, I can't say that I'm some godly guy. It's not who I am. I love God in my own way, and I have my own beliefs. I think everybody should have their own beliefs and create their own religion in a way, right? But I decided to go to the church, and I just walked in, and that was the day that I was going to kill myself. And when I walked into the church, I was really just looking for a sign, and I dressed in black too, like I was heading to my own funeral. I was literally going to go and blow my own fucking brains out on the side of the road and just leave myself there. I had written out a suicide note and everything. I was committed. That was the day that it was going to happen. And so I go into church and I sit like kind of close to the front, and the guy that's up there has more tattoos than me, you know, and he's talking to me about God. And so he talks about this story, and I'm going to share it with you because it was shared with me in a very critical moment in my life. And he's talking about this guy who just lost his girlfriend, and he just lost his job. And so he has a newspaper in front of him, and he's looking for a sign. You know, he's like trying to find a job. He's going through the ads and going through the job, going through the ads, trying to find something in the paper, not really finding anything. And his daughter's on the ground playing with toys, just like putting Legos together or something. And she's, you know, gorgeous, blue eyes, blonde gal. He himself is just trying to figure out his life too. And it seems like every single thing that could go wrong happened that day. Lost his girlfriend and his job, has his daughter there, doesn't know how he's going to feed her. He's freaking out. And so he's going through the paper, right? And he's just like, God, please give me a sign, anything, you know? And so he gets frustrated because he can't find something that really clicks that he knows that he could possibly do, because all these places have been calling him back to back and they already filled up the positions. He's like, well, why are you advertising then, right? And so he gets frustrated. He rips the newspaper up, and then he goes to the restroom to wash his face off and look at himself in the mirror for a second, starts reflecting, and he starts like, I don't want my daughter to see me like that. Left his daughter out there on the living room floor just playing, you know, 'cause it wasn't anything else, just him and his girl. And so he looks at himself in the mirror, washes his face, and he goes back about 5 minutes later. And so about 5 minutes later, he looks on the floor, and there's a piece of the newspaper that he had ripped up. And his daughter, with glue, had put it all back together again. In like every single way. He picks up the paper and he's just like, what? Like, this is like nothing ever happened. Like, how did you even do this? He picks up his baby girl and he's like, baby girl, how did you do this? Like, I'm completely blown away. You know, like, there's no way. Like, there's all these words and ads and you're barely old enough to read. You know what I mean? And she was like, Daddy, there was a picture on the other side. And so he flips the picture over of the job ads, and it's a picture of Jesus Christ. And that right there was like so monumental to me. Because to me, you know, he said, so many times in our lives, we try to shred everything else up, all the hope that we have. We try to rip it all away. And sometimes that thing that we're trying to rip away is ourselves and what we're trying to do. And so you tear yourself apart, but you don't realize that all you have to do is get the picture right to put yourself back together. And the picture doesn't have to be Jesus. The picture could be you and your family with a white picket fence and a family dog, and you're watching your kid run around the front yard. You know? And so when that had happened to me, that was the picture I thought of. I thought of in my head of a really happy place where, you know, the people that I loved were enjoying the things that I did. And so I did not realize that this entire time, I just didn't have the picture right. I knew what I wanted to do and I knew what I had to do. I just didn't have the picture right of what I really wanted. And so that was the day I created that picture for myself. And I guess the newspaper being ripped to shreds was like me ripping myself apart. And so if that little girl can put the pieces together, why can't I, you know? And so I walked out of there with the belief system that I had never had in my whole life, you know? Like, I got a gym membership and I started going to the gym, lost a crap ton of weight in like 3 months, stopped focusing so much on trying to get my ex back. Like, because me and Laura, my lady, we had separated because she, you know, I broke her heart.
Yeah.
And, you know, I started focusing on myself and getting myself back and to shape being somebody that would attract somebody like her. She had already been seeing someone else. You know, I was not really wanting anything at the time. I was just trying to figure myself out. And so I stopped calling her all the time, stopped being up her ass about everything, stopped asking her where she was at, stopped depending on anyone to try to make me happy, started figuring out how to make myself happy. During in that time frame, it was like I was a magnet for good things. At that point, it was like a giant compilation of just good shit happening to me. My house sold on a refinance. I was able to get like $80K back in my account, and I was already broke from spending all that money on drugs and alcohol and strippers. And then, you know, the gym was amazing. I was eating really well and I was working out all the time. And I was, you know, Laura would call me and she could tell that something was different, you know? Turns out the dude that she was dating cheated on her too. So fuck me, right?
Oh my God.
You know, she called me, told me that she wanted to hang out with me because she didn't want to be alone.
Yeah.
You know, and so she came over and hang out. We talked, and then we got back together, and we haven't separated since. you know? And so I got my son back, got my family back, got my business back, got my life back. I got my belief back. And so I think that sometimes you got to tear yourself down to build yourself back up again.
Like the phoenix.
Like a phoenix.
Yeah.
And that could happen at any level of your life, regardless of where you're trying to make a lot of money. Because you can get to a point where you're making a crap ton of money, and then out of nowhere, shit just goes south, right? This happened to me recently. I went from literally like clearing 1.8 million in a month to like now doing like $250,000 every month. And that's just been over the last 4 months that it's been like this.
Yeah.
But we're transforming our business model around to adjust to what the direction of e-commerce is going. Because it was insane last year. Now it's like kind of dying out, and now we're seeing, okay, this was just a thing that we were able to ride, like a wave, like a trend. And now the trend has subsided. Now we're the ones that actually last, are able to create longevity for themselves, you know? And so even now I'm faced with adversity, but having gone to that church in that one monumental moment in my life, that saved me. I didn't baptize myself. I didn't do anything crazy. I didn't believe in God or give my life to Jesus or any of that crazy stuff that you hear other people talk about. I'm not saying that's crazy. I respect you. And I respect you if you're listening to this, if that's what it took to save you. I'm just saying sometimes, man, God shows up in people, and that person was giving me a message that I needed to hear at that time. And I don't think anybody else interpreted it that way, the way that I interpreted it, because my life experiences were what made his message hit me. And so, you know, I would have killed myself had I would have not gone in there. And I've yet to tell that pastor thank you either. He has no idea that he saved my life, you know. But I don't go to church all the time.
Well, I'm glad you went.
I'm glad I went to.
Yeah. See, I actually went through depression myself, and now I've been writing a book called Get Your Shit Together.
I'm so
and
excited.
A course along with a journal. It's taken me a lot longer than I expected, but that is the first part of it. Is you got to figure out what you actually want. Play, explore, figure it out. Get to know what you want. What's your ideal? And then who is that person? Because you're not the same person. You are already getting what you're going to get as you are right now, period. So you have to change something about you so that it will show up on the outside. So like, who is this person? How are they different? And then who are you right now? What's going on right now? What are your top problems? What are things that are actually working for you? Because we got to know how we're programmed. Like, what programs are we working off? Because 95% of the day, we're working off of a program. We're not working off of our conscious mind. So if you don't think you're worthy, you're going to keep creating scenarios where you'll lose everything, even if you do create it for yourself. And it's taking over and making yourself reprogram yourself by believing something else better can happen. And like, whenever you got that good energy going and you stopped the needy energy or the jealous energy, and you stopped doing this negative energy that would have just gotten you more into that cycle, and you navigated your energy into something better, you were able to attract better. You were able to attract the things that you lost. And I really feel like energy is everything. Like, they even came down to, they realized that matter is just energy too. Like, it all comes down to energy. So understanding what energy you're coming at things with, and like, what program is this? Do you have a negative program that's coming at negative energy on towards what you want? Well, you're not going to get what you want with that. It's taking away. And so understanding yourself, getting to know yourself, and knowing what's working for you, what's not working for you. Okay, the things working for you, you don't have to reprogram that. That's great. You know, like, the things that aren't though, like, what's sabotaging you? Okay, let's reprogram that. How do you reprogram? And how do you get out of this depression? I had to learn how to reprogram myself, because I was like, man, these negative beliefs I have got me in this negative cycle in my life, where I think what happens is it starts building up in life. Like, these negative decisions, the consequences keep building up, and they get bigger and bigger, or it seems like you're getting hit with a spiritual 2x4. You know, at first it starts as a whisper, then finally it's like, you're not listening. And we can get depressed because it's like, I don't know what to do, and this is all I know, and like, it's depressive. And then it starts affecting our bodies. It affects our health. It affects our mental health. It affects a lot of things.
You know, to add substance to that too, Mitzi, because what you're saying is true. So a couple days ago, my dog passed away. And yesterday I was working out, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm very intentional when I go to the gym. And I could not focus to save my life. And so my heart rate kept going up and faster than normal, right? And so my trainer monitors everything. He monitors how many reps, how when I look winded, how often I'm able to take a break in between sets. And he has me like openly have my heart rate out so he can continuously grab my wrist and look at it to see where I'm at. Because he wants to keep me at a specific pace for maximum results, right? And so he was like, Q, what's wrong, dude? And I hadn't even told him that my dog had died, you know? And he just knew that something was wrong because just like, we're barely 30 minutes into this workout. You kill it right now is prime time. This is you killing it. Are you stressed or what's going on? And at that point I was like, no, dude, my dog died yesterday. And he was like, okay, I can tell that you're struggling through these workouts. And I was like, well, how, you know? And he was like, Q, you mentioned this just a second ago that you're getting a headache. I was like, what do you mean? Like, he's like, a headache while you're working out means that you're working out when your body's under massive stress or you're hurting, like your emotions are not intact. And so this is called a thunderclap, right? So a thunderclap headache is what they call that in the gym when you are literally moments. So this occurs before you have a stroke in the gym. Yeah. So he was like, dude, we're going to take it easy. 30 minutes is good enough. The fact that you pushed it past this much is awesome, but you need to mourn and you need to get over it and then come back on Thursday. So, you know, I went to the gym this morning, but for him to notice that and to tell me what that was, and I didn't know what a thunderclap headache was. I just told him I'm having a headache right now. That was it. Because we were like on our fourth set and I was doing squats, and I love squats. My favorite exercise. I got fucking tree trunks on my legs, dude.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, I can normally do a lot more than this, you know? But yeah, I'm still hurting about it. And it is what it is. And I love my dog. You lose anybody, it's going to hurt. But
there's something about dogs.
I don't think people should go to the gym either if they're hurting. Yeah. I think too many people think that I'm just going to, you know, lift out my feelings. It's like, you can't do that. You put way too much stress on the body. Lifting and exercising outside or even in a gym, warehouse, wherever you're working out, you are putting massive stress on your body. You cannot stack stress on top of stress that's already existing. It's counterproductive, and you're never going to get the results that way. You need to be fully in tune with your mind when you go and very intentional. You shouldn't even go if you're angry. A lot of people go to the gym and then they get angry. Well, that's just going to cause you to ego lift and then injure yourself.
Emotion. What emotion are you coming at it with? You have to be really careful. And this is know yourself. Know yourself. And like, you didn't even know about the thunderclap. Somebody else had to teach you about that so you could understand yourself more and where you were at in that moment. And that's what's so great about having a coach or a mentor that can be like, hey, you need to know this about yourself. And this is important. So you have these signals in life that can be like, hey, don't push through if it's hurting like that. You know, like in yoga, we used to say, so I'm a yoga teacher, and we say it should be uncomfortable, but it shouldn't hurt. You're pushing too hard if it hurts. You should feel discomfort, but pain, no. You're pushing too hard. I mean, a lot of people say no pain, no gain. I get that. But some people, and a lot of us are extreme, especially in the United States, we take that too far. We take it too far, and we just think, I'll push through my emotions. I'll just hunker down, and I'm just going to do this. But what you're doing is you're coming at everything in an energy that you're not aware of right now, because you're not even acknowledging yourself where you're at. And like, yes, you only have an emotion for 15 minutes, because when you think the thought is the energy that you put in motion when the hormone drops down in the brain. And we call that, in yoga, it's a lake. And every hormone that drops down actually ages you. So this is why it's important to do headstands, is to stop the aging process, stop the lake from leaking. The lake starts leaking whenever you hit puberty, and then it stops the day you die. So like, that's your life essence. So the more emotional you are, the more your lake is leaking. You actually want to control your emotions and be a master over your thoughts, so you can master your emotions. So you master your thoughts, you do master your emotions, because it's what's dropping the hormone consciously or subconsciously. So like, you have to be aware of where you are. And what's hard is when you're unconsciously there. So you have to be mindful and conscious and check in with yourself and be like, am I forcing this, or am I coming from a place of power? Because like flow state is like where you are going to reach your human potential in such a quick way. Like you're going to be 100%. Whenever you're forcing it, you're not going to be there. So going back to how I got out of depression though, was figuring out, who do I really want to be? Who is this person to get what I want to feel like every day? And because I figured out what I want, and then how does that stuff make me feel? And I gauged, do I even believe? Because in my feelings, do I feel sick? Do I feel like that's not even something I'm capable of? So I just shut it out. Because like some of us, it's not even capable to us. So we'll hear it and we're like, it doesn't even come in. We don't even allow it in. So like, I had to figure that out so I could gauge where I was in my own belief system on what I wanted in life. And then I had to figure out, where am I with that? My limiting beliefs, my programs that are supporting it, work with the programs that are supporting it, and then work on the ones that weren't supporting it. So I was having to say things in the mirror, like in the morning. And I did it during theta state, when you can be brainwashed or you're programmed. And this is like what you are in the first 7 years. This is when you get your programs, or you're in theta state. And you just watch things and you can learn. You don't have to have somebody explaining everything. And during theta state, your mind, you can plant seeds in there. This is when you can reprogram. So right when you get up and right before you go to sleep, start saying things like, how can it get any better than this? Instead of, how can it get worse than this? Because I noticed when I was depressed, I was saying a lot of negative self-talk. Listen to yourself and how you're talking to yourself. You got to stop that, because that's negative energy. It's going to keep you there. You're not going to solve the problem in the same energy you created it in. You have to get out of that energy, and you have to go back to a different way of thinking, a different way of energy, doing, and all of that. Because it starts with the thought, which creates the emotion. The emotion inspires the action. Logic just backs up why we did it or not. But really, it was the thought, the emotion, and the action. So what we're acting and what we're doing day to day is really telling about how we really think.
There was this guy there's this guy that I follow. His name's Eddie Hall. He's a pro strongman. So this dude's won competitions, and he's been the strongest man in America like 3 years in a row. Not recently, but like throughout the years, like I think a span of a decade, he's won 3 times. And so strength training is an intense thing, right? So he's the only guy that has ever lifted 1,100 pounds on a deadlift with no equipment. And so most people, when they do deadlifts, they're wearing knee straps, back strap, arm straps, like elbow straps, grips on their hands. They're using this thing that you wrap around the bar that allows your hand to lock into it. So you're using more of your forearm and your shoulder versus using your actual grip. But this guy gripped that bar with his bare hands and picked it up in front of like 3,000 or 4,000 people at a competition. And so strongest man alive, one of, and definitely a record holder. One of the only guys that ever tried to dethrone this dude is the dude who played as the Mountain in Game of Thrones. That's a big motherfucker. Okay, so Eddie Hall, before he did that exercise, but he had been training 3 years to lift that amount of weight for that moment. Ate so much food, did so many different things, very intense, right? He knew that he had to take it further because his body was at its limit. At this point, it's the strongest he's going to get. Yeah. What's going to push you past that limit is what you're able to create in your mind. Yeah. And so he went and he saw a hypnotist person. And so this psychologist hypnotized him into believing that his wife's head and that his son's head were underneath that bar. And that the only way that he was going to save them was if he picked it up off of their heads before it crushed them. And so that is what his mind believed when he does this exercise. And so if you ever see the video, it's freaking crazy. Everybody's just like, wow, like
I got
blown
goosebumps.
away, right?
Yeah.
And so he thought it, and you can see his whole demeanor changes because he wants to save his wife and his son. And he grabs that bar with everything and he pulls it up like it's a bag of feathers. And then drops it back down. He drops to his knees and stuff, almost passes out.
It's in a different intention. It's a different energy.
So much intention. Yeah. And so, when they interviewed him and asked him, he was like, I just thought of that because that's what had been put into my mind. I was
That's another way to
that's a crazy thing to think about, because your body's already at its limits. How do you push past?
Yeah.
It's what the mind can create for the body. It's like if you see somebody and they're, you know, in a car accident, and you know the only way that you're going to save them and the car's on fire is you rip off that door in some kind of way. You're going to figure it out. You're going to find a way because the intention's there. Now it's like fight or flight. You have to do this. That's why the words want and will are two entirely different things.
Oh, yeah.
4 letters. One word carries power, the other one doesn't. Want is like a whiny baby in the corner saying, oh, I want to play outside today. I want to make $1 million. I want to have a nice car too. I want to be able to travel when I want to. It's different when you're like, I will be very wealthy. I will take care of my family. I will be big and strong. You see, when you say that you will, now what's different is you have to. You have to.
I think present. So I am. So I used to say I will, and that left me in this constant like forward of, I will. Okay, it's like ever accomplishing, but I am is already as you are. And so that helped me with the affirmations too. But I looked at it like, okay, so after you set these affirmations, what you need to believe, and you start telling yourself, so hypnotherapy is another one. Being hypnotized is another way to get into the subconscious mind and reprogram it. Talking to your mind in theta state is another one. And then repetition is another one. So like watch what you're repeating to yourself over and over and over throughout the day, because you can't think a positive like goal and then throughout the day, you're giving yourself negative self-talk towards it. Like it's not going to ever happen.
What is that called? Zeta? Mind? What?
Theta.
Theta.
And like that, some people actually try to do affirmations like an alpha brain
I talked
state.
about affirmations earlier today, and I got beat up for it.
Yeah, I commented on there too. But you're right. Actually, this is the next step though. Yeah. You have to come to action. If you're depressed and you're not doing anything, you do have to get up, make that bed, at least accomplish something as small as it can be, do something, because how you get out of it is you start having the confidence to believe that you can do something more, that you can, because every day that you're not doing something, you're just still negative self-talk. Look, you didn't even do anything today. And it makes you feel worse and worse. So it's like, you've got to get up and do something. Make the bed. Don't do it too hard. You don't have to do a bunch of stuff all at once. That's another thing that makes people like stop or paralyze them in the beginning. They're like, I got to lose this weight. I got to do this. I got to do that. No, make your bed.
Because it's the first thing that you can do in the day that's considered an accomplishment.
Yeah.
I saw a video earlier of Alex Hormozy, and I love this dude. You know, him and his wife, they're like pro bodybuilders. But Alex was talking about, you know, I've made millions of dollars without ever fucking making my bed. And I'm like, yeah, but that's you. You know, you're like a superficial dude. Like, it's different for other people when they've never accomplished anything. Sometimes making your bed is the first fucking accomplishment that you have throughout the day. And the accomplishments, bro, they compile. Like you do one, boom, you're going to win again. You're going to win again and again and again because, you know, you ride the wave of those wins. And so, you know, I agree and disagree at the same time. Can you become super successful without making your bed? Absolutely. But are you going to be more successful by winning? And if that is your first win throughout the day and your mindset is now prone to it, it's going to happen a lot more times.
The quicker that you can accomplish something earlier in the day, like while you're still in that beginning stages of waking up, the better you're going to set your day for more accomplishments. And I really think that at nighttime and in the morning, right before you go to sleep and right when you get up in the morning, you know, set what it is that you want to do. Set your intention. I call it setting your intention. Set your to-do list. You know, let's just bring it from the clouds to the streets here instead of intention. Set your to-do list. What are you intending to do the next day? Set that before you go to sleep. And did you know that whenever we go to sleep, our brains work like disfragmentation in a computer?
What?
Do you know what disfragmentation is?
No, go over it.
So like a computer, when it disfragmentates, it puts things in order, the information that is received, in order to be easier to retrieve later. It gets rid of the extra space and puts it in order. So our brain does the same thing. And this is why people say sleep on it whenever you're trying to make a decision, is because while you're asleep, your brain actually takes all the information of the previous day and what you subconsciously know, and it puts it in order so the next day you can actually solve it, or you can accomplish it faster. So if you set your intention before you go to sleep, you're now allowing your subconscious mind to work with your conscious mind. all night long.
Beautiful. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's really cool
If
to
there
know
was
these
a
hacks.
Spotify round of applause thing that we could throw on there, that was honestly amazing. Mitzi, I have to get going, unfortunately, but this podcast got to be one of my favorites, guys. If you're suffering from depression, feel, deal, heal. Feel it. What is it? Understand it. Deal with it. Then heal from it. Become better and decide to do better. That's my premise on this. What do you have as far as last words you can give to somebody maybe going through depression watching this?
I agree. And don't be too hard on yourself. Forgive yourself and accept those pieces of yourself so that you can process it in a loving way.
Don't stay in a dark place for too long, because you might call it home after a while. All right? Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Mindset with Mitzi. Love you guys.